So it's kind of crazy, I guess. Here we are in the future. We didn't get flying cars, but if you're a musician and you're looking into getting a new computer for your productions, I highly recommend that you do not bother wasting any of your time looking at any Apple desktop. Really, laptop's the way to go, baby. So let's get into it. So my name is Rob, welcome to my channel, A Minor Error. Here I do mostly guitar reviews, music, product reviews, and post my own original music. That's what I use my computer for. I use it to edit videos like this one for YouTube, and also do some pretty processing intense workloads with my project files when I'm mixing and mastering. I've gone through quite a bit of a computer journey in the last 6 months. I'd been using a 2010 ancient Mac Pro 5.1 Tower, which I had something like 7 hard drives inside for storage, 64 gigs of RAM, had gotten rather spoiled actually, and was using a around 2014 or so MacBook Pro for teaching my virtual lessons, and had decided that the laptop was getting long in the tooth. It was time to upgrade it, and in November of 2023 I bought a 14-inch M3 Pro, and then was expecting or thinking this whole time that I was going to need to purchase a desktop to replace my very aged Mac Pro Tower. Now this transition to Apple Silicon has not been smooth. It's cost me basically an extra $1,000 I wasn't expecting to have to pay in order to upgrade my software to go from Intel apps to Apple Silicon apps, even though all of those applications were officially supported. I mean, they would all open, but they were just like a hot, buggy mess and would crash. And then Chrome wouldn't work and cooperate because of the interface I was using. It was a whole mess, so it's been quite the journey. I was very impatiently awaiting the launch of a M3 Mac Studio, and then when that did not come in the summer, I decided to buy a M1 fully loaded Mac Studio. Got a pretty good deal on it, and it showed up, because I bought it used through eBay, not packaged literally at all. They took the Studio, they put it in a box with like a little bit of bubble wrap, and it ping-ponged around the box the whole way. And it showed up without even a power cord, so I couldn't even turn the thing on to see if it worked. And wisely, I think, was like, no, f you, I'm not keeping this, sent it back. And that is what made me decide, hey, you know, looking at some of these benchmarks, I'm realizing my M3 Pro, MacBook Pro, is really powerful, is actually single core way more powerful than what the M2 Mac Studio can do. More powerful than even what the Mac Pro Big Tower can do. And that's where I made the discovery that I don't need a desktop at all. For music production, while you are tracking, the only thing that matters is single core brute CPU performance. The lower the buffer size you can set in your DAW, the less latency, or potentially will feel like basically no latency, will happen for the performers. Now, me being an electric guitar player means that I'm using virtual guitar amps. Virtual everything, actually, for that matter. Virtual drums, everything is virtual. It's in the computer. It's fantastic. So the battle here has always been, how low can you set that buffer size so you can still run your virtual guitar amp without any like crackling and sputtering coming out of the computer. Now, I've always created sort of a light project file where I bounce everything down that I don't need into just an audio file, get rid of all of the unnecessary processing, and I've never been able to get my old Mac Pro Tower down below 128 buffer size. Now, if you're a musician, you know how hilariously unusable actually that is. And oh yeah, so recording for me was a nightmare. I was basically any fast run playing, like try to play a note ahead to try to, oh, it was a mess. So astonishingly to me, I discovered with the M3 Pro MacBook Pro running about 4 different virtual guitar amps all at the same time open, but no virtual drum machine thing like that. You bounce that down. I was able to run at a 16 buffer size and basically have 0 latency. So this has radically made tracking, recording, just so much easier, to the point where I almost enjoy recording. And if you're a musician, you know how much recording can just suck sometimes. Sometimes you've just got like a mental block and there's just something you can't get through. And because in the studio everything's in a microscope. Just sheer single core performance of the laptops are absolutely insane. And then when you pair with that the incredible thermals of the laptop. I mean, I've got a workstation now that is whisper quiet in a studio setting, which if you're trying to do like, let's say record some vocals at home, you can't have this computer just 5 feet away from the mic, Intel computer with the fan that sounds like a jet turbine, right? So now with the Apple Silicon, you have a true silent machine. You don't hear it at all. You could literally record vocals right there in the same room. They're faster than the current desktops when it comes to single core performance, and that is what matters for a musician. So yeah, no, you're an absolute idiot if you go out and you buy an Apple desktop and you're a musician. The laptops just are objectively better for tracking. So that is the big reason for a musician you should not even consider buying the desktops anymore. So it took me a little bit to come around on the idea of like, you don't need one big, huge tower with everything in it. You can buy just a smaller hard drive dock, which is what I did. I bought a 4-bay from OWC, which has been plug and play and just perfect. I also bought a dock to put the laptop in so that I can just pop it right there on my desktop. It stays out of the way enough where it's not in the way of my speakers. Have all my connectivity plugged in right into the dock. And that really has been incredible because now I only have one system. Before, I didn't realize how much of a pain in the ass it was to have 2 systems. And when I needed a file to have to go boot that other computer up and find that one thing, now it's like, no, if I need something that's on the hard drives, now I just drop my laptop right into the dock, boot up the disks, drag it right over, and then now there's nothing extra to think about. Like, all of my plugins are there. If I want to do a production lesson, it's not like, oh nuts, did I forget to install that version of the plugin on the second system? No, everything's there. It's one system, and it works absolutely incredible as a desktop. And that really brings me to the next point. Whether you plan on it or not, having a mobile system is absolutely amazing. There's been a number of times where I've had some time to kill for my other job that I do part-time in the summers here in Philly. I can go to Starbucks, sit down, bring my in-ears with me, and I've mixed a full project on just battery, and I've only been like a quarter of the way through the CPU for something that used to tank my huge desktop. Now, obviously, if you were running it on like a Mac Studio, like it wouldn't tank that either. But you wouldn't be able to just pick up your studio and go to Starbucks. So the ability to be mobile with this setup has been really, really cool. It has really made my life so much easier, and I've been able to pump out productions way faster and really utilize any spare time that I have much easier than before. So yeah, the ability to have this beautiful display, I mean, the monitor and the colors that come off of this monitor for editing videos are absolutely incredible. You pair that with just how snappy and how fast just the graphical interfaces all work on Apple Silicon, you'd be amazed how much quicker and better you can stay in your creative flow just by being able to manipulate and scroll up and down smoother through, let's say, faders in a virtual mixer. Now, we don't know what Apple is going to do next with the desktops, but I think the reality of it is, kind of from here on out, until there's another major revolution like the switch to Apple Silicon, I don't see the laptops stopping to outpace the desktop system. So regardless of what they do with the Mac Studio, they're always going to have a MacBook Pro that is of the same spec CPU, right? Like, that's kind of the weird thing that's happened right now. Right now, the M4 chip is out in the iPads. It's coming definitely to the MacBook Pro, and there's rumors of an updated Mac Studio, rumors of an updated Mac Mini, but it hasn't happened yet. So, like, yes, in OpenCL or Metal performance, that is where the Mac Pro comes into its own, and that is where you get more performance out of something like the Mac Studio. But with multi-core, it's not that much more performance, and the price points can be surprisingly close, and with a laptop, you're getting a whole screen and keyboard that comes along with it, and it's an Apple monitor. With how accurate the colors are and how great the Apple monitor looks, there's really just no reason to buy a desktop. There just isn't if you're in music. Now look, if you do a lot of coding or something like that, yeah, I can understand how potentially the Mac Studio might be the way that you have to go, or a Mac Pro. But the price point difference between the MacBook Pro and then all the way up to a Mac Pro, I mean, it's insane how much more expensive the Mac Pro tower costs, and just how out of date the Mac Pro tower really truly is. So it will be interesting to see what Apple decides to do. I've seen all the other tech YouTubers just constantly churning out all of the rumor mill stuff as far as what was going to happen. I was definitely bummed when we didn't get the M3 Studio, but now I'm actually really glad because I only needed to buy one device once. And yeah, I'm never going back to a desktop. My biggest regret is just not throwing down for more RAM on my MacBook Pro. If I had realized when I bought it in November that by May it was going to be my entire workstation, I would have maxed out the RAM, especially as you cannot upgrade the RAM on these computers, which again, I think is anti-consumer, although I do understand why for a technical reason, but it sucks, you know? Not being able to upgrade it means that you've got to really commit, and Apple just charges way too much for RAM. It is highway robbery, and it is insulting how much they charge. But that's the one thing that I wish I had done. I wish I had sprung for the bigger model, not the 14-inch, and I wish that I had bought more RAM. I'm constantly winding up in swap when I'm editing videos and working on it like that. So, you know, in 4 years maybe, when God even knows, when they're on the M7 chip, yeah, sure, I'll buy another computer. I'm gonna make sure to just max out the RAM so to avoid that problem. So that would be my advice to you. If you're a musician and you're planning on using your computer for, you know, mostly tracking, maybe some light video editing, something like talking head YouTube stuff like this, yeah, you do not need a desktop. It is not the way to go. Go with a laptop and just make sure you spring for the max amount of RAM that you can afford, because believe me, you are going to want it. And do not fall for Apple's corporate jargon that 8 megs of unified memory is the same as 16 on a PC. That is just demonstrably false. So don't fall for that BS. Make sure you get enough RAM. So thanks for watching this video. Hopefully you got a little something out of it. Hopefully you can avoid making a couple blunders and wasting some money like I definitely have. You know, and if you like the video, like and subscribe, all that stuff. If you're feeling frisky, you know, maybe even hit the bell. Thanks again. I appreciate the support and your time. Have a good one. Woo!